Every 6 minutes, someone in Australia is admitted to hospital because of an osteoporotic fracture.
Australia actually has the highest growing rate of adult obesity in the world.
6 Australians are diagnosed with type 1 diabetes every day.
1 in 2 Australian men and 1 in 3 Australian women are diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime.
In diabetes, the cells in the pancreas that produce insulin are destroyed. The disease can be treated with insulin injections, but this is not a cure because of the lifelong need for daily insulin injections and the risk of complications such as blindness and stroke. One of the most exciting things for me is to see the work that I've been doing over the last 20 years translated to the clinic through transplantation of insulin-producing cells.
My unit consists of about 20 people, all with different specialities. And we use these specialities to study a number of major diseases, including Alzheimer's disease, various forms of cancer, and viral and bacterial infections. And we've made major discoveries that are world-renowned.
I study bone diseases not only because people suffer from these diseases, but also because there's very little that we actually know about the skeleton and how it works.
My lab researches DNA damage repair, which is a really important process in the prevention of breast cancer and some really rare forms of familial leukemias.
We're looking at the ways to treat diseases such as type 2 diabetes, cancer and also neurodegenerative diseases. I consider myself extremely fortunate to be able to further my career in this group, which has the potential to develop treatments for major metabolic diseases.
My research has the potential to improve the health of all of these patients.
My passion is for understanding how things work and also making a difference to outcomes in diseases like cancer.
Yeah, it's a fantastic feeling when you find solutions to things that can make a difference to people in your lifetime.
If we can find new treatments to treat osteoporosis, people won't have to go through that pain and suffering.
I'm really excited about some recent results in the lab that we hope that in the future will have major implications for the treatment of breast cancer and leukemia.
Thanks to the research we do, I've seen the lives of people with type 1 diabetes transformed.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Professor Natalie Sims. I'm the Deputy Director here at St Vincent's Institute, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to our Open Day today. We wish we could welcome you into the building, but you're all familiar with that by now. It's just not possible. As we start the meeting, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of this land. St Vincent's Institute rests on the land of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. But while we're in lockdown, of course, our staff work on the lands of multiple nations, and you may be in the lands of other people. And for us, it's particularly people living on Bunurong and Wathaurong country. So as we meet, I'd like to pay my respect to the Wurundjeri people and acknowledge their continuing custodianship of the land on which I live and work at St Vincent's Institute. So looking at a map for where St Vincent's Institute is, this is our building here. We're right on the campus of St Vincent's Hospital, which you can see just here near Carlton Gardens and Parliament Station, just down the road from ACU, across the park from Melbourne University and close to the city campus of RMIT. So we're really right in the action of it. And we're on a hospital campus, which makes us fairly unique. Our mission as St Vincent's Institute is to create and harness the knowledge of disease so we can improve health outcomes for those who are in need. And we do this in a number of different ways. Now, I did my honours year and my PhD at a medical research institute, not St Vincent's Institute. And I really want to talk to you a little bit about what makes a research institute different for where you're doing your research. And one of the reasons why I really enjoyed my time so much is because I was in a medical research institute rather than a university. It's quite a different environment. So I want to talk to you a bit about that and what makes it so different. We're a mid-sized research institute. We're a team of about 200 scientists, professional staff and students with a number of different functions. So why should you study with us? Well, the main reason is that our main business here at St Vincent's Institute is making medical discoveries, and our scientists are world famous for what they do. All of our lab heads have international reputations in their fields. The only students that we have at our research institute are students who are learning how to do research and who are learning how to do meaningful research. We don't have undergraduates, but we're also not interested in just keeping you busy and giving you a piece of paper at the end. We want you to contribute to the work that we're doing, that we're passionate about, and that we believe in, and that will be published and meaningful. When you're doing higher degree research at St Vincent's Institute, it means you're doing real research with a team of people whose main concern is to make discoveries. Our scientists are really driven to carry out interesting and useful research, and they're going to work alongside you to make sure that your discoveries are also useful. Training the next generation of researchers is what's really important to us when we take on students in our labs. So at St Vincent's Institutes, we work on a wide range of conditions using many different technologies. The projects at our institute run the full spectrum from bioinformatics and protein chemistry through to human islet transplantation and work on clinical samples. You can see some of the fields of research and the diseases that we work on are listed here. We're not a single disease institute because we believe that useful discoveries can come from left field. Understanding one field can provide answers for another problem, and perhaps an unexpected one. So you'll not only learn about your field of research when you come to St Vincent's Institute, but through our seminar program and through meeting other people in the lab, and as life returns back to normal in the tea room, you'll get to hear about other fields of research and learn about what happens in different types of labs, as well as the lab that you're in. Sometimes you might also find that your project crosses over into another field, and that makes life really interesting for everyone. And so it's really important to understand that we do more than just academic research. So we don't only do work that leads to publication of papers and creation of new knowledge, even though that's one of the main things that motivates us. We also run facilities like a biological isolator facility, flow cytometry and microcomputed tomography facilities, and we run a biobank. So you'll get to know people who are running these types of facilities that are used by different organisations. We also run clinical trials, and we have pancreatic islet isolation for transplantation for patients with diabetes. So you'll also come across people who are doing that type of work. And we also provide services for other laboratories. We provide preclinical trial services for pharmaceutical companies and small biotech companies. We also do laboratory quality testing services, and we manufacture scientific reagents. So there's a broad spectrum of activities that happens on our campus. And because we're fairly small and mid-sized, you'll get to know people who do all of these types of things. Another thing that's important to know is that we are a very friendly institute. We don't work in isolation. We're pretty famous for being fairly friendly and interacting among the different research groups that are in our institute. So this is a photo of me with my former PhD student, Christina, and she carried out a study that used techniques from our lab, but also had collaborations with Toby, who's on one side of her, who was doing a PhD in another lab. And it turned out that the techniques that he was using provided the answer to the question that she was looking at. So he had techniques looking at cells in the lab to help her understand the fragile bones that she was working on. And so we're here in this photo with one of SVI's structural biologists celebrating Christina's success in getting her first grant at the end of her PhD. And there's a lot of stories like this at SVI where teams work together between floors and between labs to make new discoveries across disciplines. It's also important for you to know that you're not limited to just using the equipment and the resources that we have within our institute when you come and work with us. Our scientists at SVI use resources all over Melbourne for our work. So this is another photo of Christina. and she and I working together at the Australian Synchrotron in Clayton to use their focused infrared beam to measure the internal composition of some brittle bone samples that she was working on. And the same is true of many of our researchers who use techniques like X-ray diffraction or cryo-EM, light sheet microscopy. There's many different possibilities. So we use a wide range of techniques, not just in our building. Anywhere we need to go, that's where we go. In our labs, we also work together with researchers, just gone backwards, with researchers from all over the world. And I wanted to show you this photo. This is in the pre-COVID times when we could all go out together for lunch, but it just provides an illustration that we have students and postdocs from all over the world come to our lab to work. So in this image, there's a bunch of Australians having lunch with one student from China, one from Austria, one from Argentina, and a postdoctoral researcher from Japan. And this is true. I mean, I'm showing you photos of my group because that's who I work with, but this is true of all of our groups at SVI. Because we've got world-class researchers who've got international connections, many of them come to visit us to learn from our work. And our students and researchers also travel to work in laboratories interstate and overseas, to speak at conferences overseas. And even during the pandemic, we're still connected with overseas colleagues working together over Zoom, sharing data, sharing resources around the globe. The other thing I want you to understand is that when you're a research student, it's very different to undergraduate life. It's really like on-the-job training. You're doing real work, working real work hours, and you're really taking your first step in what's almost like an apprenticeship as being a researcher. So this is Martha, who's a student in our team now. She works with me, and this is showing her at her lab bench. And she has been able to, like you will, work alongside other researchers, learn their techniques, but also how to think like a researcher, how to structure your day like a researcher, how to plan and execute experiments. So you'll be totally immersed in what life is like to be a scientist. It'll give you a really good taste of it. And it's not limited to life at the bench. So here's another photo of a former student of mine, Nilofer, who is presenting her work at a conference in Korea. So you don't only learn how to do experiments, you also learn public speaking, how to write, how to establish networks, how to work in teams, how to plan your projects and project management skills. And these are skills that aren't just important for research, but for any career you might go into after a PhD. So I'm going to hand over pretty soon to Tom Brodnicki, who's our student coordinator, to talk about how studentships at St Vincent's Institute work. But I want to end with a personal story and tell you about a little bit about my experience. So here's funny photos of me when I was much younger. And to tell you that doing graduate research can really change your outlook on life. I did my honours year many years ago, last century in Adelaide at a research institute, which at the time was called the Institute for Medical and Veterinary Sciences. And I'll be honest and tell you that I had no intention of becoming a scientist. I had a year of a gap between the course I was doing and the course I wanted to do, where I thought I would do honours just to see what it was like. And some of you may be in a similar situation, that you're searching around trying to find out what you want to do. For me, it was really through the experience of doing full-time research for a year that I realised that being a medical researcher was a job that I would really enjoy and was something that I wanted to continue with. And it's been a great life for me, and I do hope that you'll come and join us to experience it. So having given you a little bit of a taste of what life is like at a medical research institute and what things can be like as a student at an MRI, I'm going to hand you over to Tom Brodnicki, who's going to talk some more about how things work at St Vincent's Institute. Over to you, Tom.
Thanks. I'll share my screen once you're done.
Mm-hmm.
So Natalie, can you see that now?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So hello, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to come check out SVI, even if it is only online. We're hoping in the near future we'll be opened up for tours and the standard type of things we do to have students come check us out. To begin with, I should say, and I noticed some of you are already using it, I just want to remind you that if you have any questions, please do enter them in the webinar Q&A box. We'll answer them during the Q&A session with the student panel after I'm done giving you a bit of information. And so now the one thing that I want to emphasize right from the get-go, which Natalie's touched on, is that SVI has a number of opportunities that I'm touching on here or showing you here for undergraduate and postgraduate students, including lab positions like research assistants and technicians. But this afternoon, I'm just going to briefly tell you about the undergraduate and graduate training programs. So in the first instance, a variety of undergraduate students over the years have taken advantage of our work experience program during summer or midterm holidays. And here's a bit of inside information. Because you came today, we don't actually routinely advertise this work experience program. Mainly that's because we're looking for those undergraduate students who are self-motivated and so enthusiastic about doing research that they actually contact a lab head on their own and then convince them to take them on. So if you're going to be a second or third year undergraduate student next year and you happen to come along to today's session, have a look at the labs on our website, and then don't be shy about emailing a supervisor and convincing them that they should give you a shot. And so I should say it is highly competitive, but this is an excellent chance to observe and learn new skills in an actual working lab. And of course, if you happen to get a chance to do this, then you'll have a leg up when you decide to go for an honors project. So now, as part of the Institute's general mission for teaching and training young investigators, various labs at SVI also provide undergraduate projects for third-year university coursework. And I think a number of you may have already taken such a course or in the process of taking one of these courses. For example, those of you who happen to be from ACU, you'll know about the Work Integrated Learning course. And those of you from Melbourne Uni will likely know about the research-based project courses that are available through either microbiology and immunology department or the pathology department. So again, if you have a friend or classmate who's starting second or third year undergraduate studies next year, definitely let them know about the undergraduate opportunities at SVI. Okay, I realize a number of you are probably here today because you're thinking about honors, which is an intensive one-year degree program. And for most university honors programs, you'll know that there's a lab-based research component, typically about 75%, and then a coursework component, typically about 25%, which is carried out at the university department. I should say the coursework at the university department in which you're enrolled. And I'll come back to enrollment and that process in a couple more slides. Now, you should also know that we host students undertaking a master's degree, which is also a research-based degree with additional coursework. And I guess the primary difference to the honors degree is that a master's is a 2-year degree. And that's just involving a higher expectation of developing both a broader range and depth of expertise in your various technical and communication skills, in particular in the research area you've chosen. And then finally, we certainly like to recruit and train PhD students. I think Natalie touched on this. Doing a PhD is an amazing experience, and one in which I think you truly get a chance to develop into a scientist that knows how to develop and lead your own project, with that ultimate goal of making a major discovery that hopefully leads to better treatments for patients in the clinic. And more importantly, from our standpoint at SVI, at the end of your PhD training, we hope you'll become, if you will, a card-carrying expert in both the specific area of research, as well as in a number of experimental techniques and assays, not to mention having a well-honed skill for effectively telling everyone about what you know how to do. And I think hopefully it goes without saying that at SVI, all the supervisors certainly find one of the more rewarding aspects of being a scientist is being able to train the next generation of successful students like yourself. Okay, so the key question, of course, is how do you find a student project at SVI? Well, the easiest way is to go to the website and click on the Student and Careers button, which is right up there, and I just clicked on it. And you get to this page. And that has all the student research projects. And you'll find that there are a wide variety of student projects that are available. And all you have to do, and I'm not going to do this because they'll send us there, is click on the title to get the full details of that project. And more importantly, the email contact info for that supervisor. And at present, I just checked recently today, there are at least 35 student projects on offer. So the best place to begin your search is checking this page out. So once you find a project and you check it out online, the next thing is to contact the supervisor. And here I'm just showing you the variety of enthusiastic, friendly, and experienced supervisors that you have to choose from. Another thing, and again, Natalie touched on this, is that relatively often a student's project results in a collaboration with another lab, either inside or outside, or sometimes both in the institute. So in that case, you actually get 2 lab experiences or more for the price of 1. But I would note that in all cases, a co-supervisor will be assigned to assist your primary supervisor with your training and development. So at the very least, you're going to get exposed to 2 different lab heads and labs. Okay, probably one of the questions I get asked a lot as the student coordinator at the Institute is, how do I actually write to a potential supervisor so they'll actually respond to my email query about a student project? First off, do not send this kind of email. Believe it or not, this is an actual example of one that I did receive, although I will note I've changed the name to protect the sender. And he said, hey, Tom, I hear you have a student project in your lab. I'm a very ambitious person. I think I would do good work in your lab and make some amazing discoveries in bone disease. For the record, I don't work on bone disease. Natalie, who you just heard from, her group works on bone disease. I work on type 1 diabetes, so they got it wrong right there. And he says, looking forward to talking with you. P.S. I can't work in your lab on Tuesdays because I have a job at a cafe. I should point out, now obviously that's one extreme, but what I want to point out is that most lab heads will receive anywhere from between 1 and 10 emails in any given week asking about the availability of a position in their group. And so you really do want to make a good first impression. And again, hopefully I don't have to tell you this is a bad email, and few, if any, lab heads and potential supervisors are actually going to even bother to respond to it. Instead, what I want to do is give you the type of email that you should write. And first off, it should be professional in tone with no spelling or grammatical errors. Hopefully that's obvious. And then next, I would suggest that you want to convey 3 key items that can be broken down into 3 simple paragraphs. The first item and paragraph should introduce who you are and tell them that you have attached your CV and most recent transcript report. It's really important to attach those 2 because otherwise they got to ask you for them and it starts an email exchange and they may actually get busy and forget to respond to your emails. And so within that first paragraph, you should also, if possible, indicate that you've worked in a lab before or at the very least in a team environment, and then make sure that your CV emphasizes this fact. So a nice first paragraph might read, as I'm showing you here, I'm a 3rd-year biomed student at the University of Melbourne, and I'm interested in an honors project in your lab. You'll see from my attached CV and grade transcript report that I have experience working in a team environment and have achieved strong marks for my science course work. And of course, then your CV and transcript will back that up. And if you happen to have a WAM that is above 75 or better, state this in the first paragraph. All the potential supervisors will want to see your marks. So highlight which courses you've done the best in, especially if it's related to the project that's available in the lab. Now, I guess the thing I want to, again, emphasize is if they have to ask for these in a follow email, some potential supervisors may not even respond to your first one. Okay, the second paragraph highlights the second key item, why you are interested in the group's work. And here you want to just show that you've done your homework and state specifically a few reasons why you are willing to, why you are writing to them about doing an honors project. So in this example, you'll see a second paragraph might be along the lines of, I'm particularly interested in your group's work because I've become interested in type 1 diabetes during my undergraduate studies. Refer back to what you've studied in your coursework. That indicates to them that you have found something of interest. It seems from my reading of your group's papers, this is a bit of flattery, that your lab would provide a great opportunity to learn various techniques, single-chain RNA-seq, FACS, CRISPR gene editing, that your lab uses to identify and characterize genes that contribute to autoimmune disease pathogenesis. So what this second paragraph is really trying to set out to do is use, again, a little bit of flattery, i.e. you've read their work, and it also indicates that you know what sort of techniques they use in the lab and you want to learn these. So again, you have to do a bit of homework if you really want to capture the attention of the potential supervisor. Now, finally, the third paragraph should finish by telling them you would like to meet and when you are available. The best thing to do is give them a few days and time so they can pick one that will easily fit into their schedule. And I think if you do these three things and you do it well in an email, more often than not, you should get a response. But I'm going to give you one last hint, and that is you should CC on the email you send to the supervisor, also CC the Institute student coordinator. And if it's me, what I'll do is I'll try my best to follow up on your inquiry. I might see them in the hallway or I might be in another meeting and I'll just go, did you get that email from Ann Jones? Have you had a chance to talk to her? Now, I do want to say it still might be that you won't get an interview, but typically a potential supervisor will reply and tell you why. And it could be for any number of reasons, but what I want to point out is at least you'll know that they considered your email and you got a response, and maybe that'll give you some feedback for the next email that you send. Okay, I'm just going to finish up by saying you've written your email and it's led to your chosen supervisor offering you a project. First off, congratulations, because the next step at SVI is the easy one. And really, I mainly want to point out it's easy because we work directly with you to set up your project and help with the enrollment process. And one unique aspect of SVI is that we often have students from various universities enrolling in different degrees. And because of this, we're very familiar with these processes and also know the key contact people at these universities. Now, I'm not going to go into the details of the various deadlines and processes of the different universities. You can go to their student information sessions in the departments that you'll enroll through via SVI. But once the supervisor here at the Institute approves your candidature for placement at SVI, then he or she will contact me, the student coordinator, and then the two of us will assist you with the enrollment process. Step 2 is orientation and safety training with all the other new students starting at SVI. So that's a great time to meet everybody else and really a great first way to get to know everyone going through this training program. And then step 3 is simple. You start your lab project, and this of course means learning the new techniques under the supervision of the lab head you've joined, of the group you've joined, along with the skilled research assistants and postdocs and other students and your fellow students who have already been working in the lab. And then lastly, make sure you don't forget to take care of the assigned coursework for your degree. Again, you'll get plenty of assistance with regard to what that will be. And the other thing I want to point out is you should know that during your entire training period at the Institute, whether it's for 1-year honors or for the full 3 to 4 years of the PhD, you'll actually have a dedicated admin team, IT team, technical lab support team, a human resource team, and then again, your friendly neighborhood student coordinator looking out for you. And this is the bonus because all that support is on top of everything else you'll have provided to you from the university in which you enroll. So coming back to Natalie's point, I think simply put, one of the major advantages of doing your honors, master's, or PhD degree at an institute like SVI is you'll have this huge support network behind you while you're doing your research and writing your papers and writing your thesis.
So I'm looking at a particular protein that is involved in DNA repair, and it contributes to fertility, the immune system, and cancer development. I came to SVI because of its renowned capability to carry out high-quality biomedical research and its encouragement in collaborations with other research institutes. It's great to work at SVI because the research groups here work on a variety of different diseases, so it's a great opportunity to get advice when I have a difficult problem to solve. There is a very positive work culture and a strong student support group. Everyone is very open to helping each other out in producing their best work. And because SVI is conveniently located on the campus of St Vincent's Hospital, we get really amazing clinical advice to help guide our work, and this is really important when we're trying to solve a clinical problem.